The National Transportation Safety Board has just released its preliminary report on the train derailment in East Palestine. It comes as Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is making his first visit to the community nearly 3 weeks after the crash. NBC's Ron Allen is in East Palestine, Ohio, and also with me, NBC's Tom Costello. Tom, you've been reading through this report. What sticks out to you?
By the NTSB, and we expect an NTSB news conference at 1 o'clock. But here's the headline at this hour, and I'm reading it off of this press release, so let me just summarize this for you. When a train is coming down the line, there are what's called a hot bearing detector. It's a gauge or a monitor that detects how hot are the bearings underneath the train. Well, this report found that as it went through the third hot bearing sensor, it detected the heat was 253 degrees on the bearing. That is far too hot. That's 135 degrees hotter than what the railroad itself says we should stop the train at this point.
Okay, so if the third heat sensor detected it to be 135 degrees over, why didn't it stop when it got like a degree over than what it should be after hitting the second sensor? I wonder if they did something so that the train wouldn't stop, or trains supposed to are supposed to be able to stop when this happens. Like, who's supposed to be checking these readings and dealing with this if the bearings get too hot?
This was at 253 degrees. That's a very, very hot reading. That created an automatic audible warning to the train that you've got a possible issue here. The engineer applied the brakes. Then automatic brakes were also applied. And then they detected what appeared to have been smoke and fire underneath. So that is a big indicator that this train was coming in very hot with its bearings potentially on fire, but clearly well above the threshold at which the train should have already stopped when it started getting hotter and hotter and hotter, if you will.
So that the smoke and fire must have been from the overheated bearings that witnesses say that they saw coming from the train before the derailment happened.
As surveillance video from a local residence showed what appeared to be a wheel bearing in the final stage of overheat failure moments before the derailment. As we've heard, there have been reports that there was fire underneath the train as it came in just before it derailed. So this NTSB report would now suggest, in fact, that was the case, and that, in fact, the bearings were overheating well in excess of the temperature at which the audible alarm goes off and at which they should have stopped the train at that moment.
Yeah, that train should have been stopped long before it was on fire underneath. Yeah, this company should be basically going bankrupt to take care of all of this. And then, what about all this smoke that was from the chemicals that were burned, spreading to other states and stuff? Are they going to be liable for that as well, or are these people just going to have to, suck it up and suffer?
Wow, yeah, you can see that video on our screen right now, showing what looks to be sparks here, or even that fire you were talking about. Tom, flag us as you continue to read if there's anything more you want to add. But Ron, obviously this starts the long process here for what went wrong, what needs to be implemented in the future. But what folks care about where you are is my water safe? Is my air safe? Are leaders going to stay here and do the right thing? We know Secretary Pete Buttigieg is in town today. And what do people want to hear from him?
They want to see him. Some are going to be very encouraged that he's here. He's been criticized for not being here. In fact, President Biden has been criticized for not being here. For context, this is a very red part of Ohio. It's a place where President Trump won the vote by as much as 70%. Another reason that he was perhaps here yesterday. But yes, almost 3 weeks later, people are still very concerned about their air, their water. There are still reports of people experiencing sicknesses because of it, they say. Although it's important to emphasize that officials here continue to emphasize on a daily basis that every test of the air, water here shows that the environment is safe. And they are going to continue that testing indefinitely.
Okay, the tests show that it's safe, but people that live here keep reporting symptoms from chemicals and the such. So that means either their tests are wrong, or the levels at which they consider safe is wrong. And the third, these people are obviously not being listened to if they're saying, hey, look at all these symptoms we got from the water, and everybody else is saying, oh no, it's all safe.
Listening to the report, I think residents here are going to want to understand what liability, what responsibility the rail company has and the crew aboard it, and was this something that could have been prevented by the crew aboard the train?
There's
Should they have
nothing in
stopped
this
it
report
sooner?
about
Perhaps
the
is going to be
chemicals
one of the
per se.
questions.
It's all about the cause of the accident, not about what happened.
Pete Buttigieg is here. The Secretary of Transportation is here, yes. He was here this morning at the site of the train derailment. He is holding meetings with first responders, local officials, and he's going to meet with some people from the community. And again, I believe he's going to get an earful from the townspeople here, not just for not coming, but also because of what they perceive as indifference to this rural red area by the Biden administration and the federal government. Even though, again, the EPA chief has been here twice. They insist that the EPA, the NTSB, other federal agencies were on the ground from day one, from the moment, hours after this derailment happened. But it's not something that really resonates with residents here, who are, in fact, traumatized by what happened. They're still angry about what happened, and they're very concerned about the future of their town. We believe that Secretary Buttigieg is going to also be very critical of the rail company. He's released a number of statements in the previous days talking about the need for more rail safety and talking about the fact that there are several things that the rail companies could do right away that they have been blocking because they want to try and keep costs down. He points out that this rail company, Norfolk Southern, earned some $4 billion last year. And he's calling for things like safer rail cars carrying these hazardous materials. He's calling for a notification system when trains are carrying hazardous materials like this one was. Apparently there's no system in place where they have to notify the local authorities down the line that they're bringing this train through, so that those local communities, states, can be ready with their first responders if need be.
So is Buttigieg gonna talk about punishments for Norfolk, or investigations into them or anything? It's just about what can be done in the future. I mean, these people need something done now, not something done in the future.
And this is something that Governor DeWine has focused in on, saying that the response could have been better if, in fact, the state, the community knew that this train was coming through and they weren't prepared for it. So a lot to get through, but the bottom line is that, yes, people here are still angry. There's still a lot of anxiety about their safety, not just now, but for the future as well.